welcome back to another Bag Talk session where we get real intimate with that spiritual bag within. I am your host, Tara Chantel. Y'all, I am so honored, so excited to have the Queen Reka Robinson in the building. From an entrepreneur, radio personality, and the mastermind of Single You. Sis, please tell us what inspires Single You, because it is truly phenomenal. Everything that you are doing, and you're coaching these ladies to step into their power.
Yeah, well, first of all, Tara, thank you so much for having me on. And I'm going to apologize already if you can hear my dogs. I have two, and they like to make noise, and we're outside. So if anybody hears that, that's the beauty of being on Zoom, I guess.
Yes.
So the question was, you asked me what was the what sparked the idea of Single You. So how much time do we have?
We got some time.
Right. Because I'm like, oh, Jesus. Okay. Single You really came out of my experience with, unfortunately, my abusive relationship. And I live where I live in Washington State, and it's a smaller town. I was telling you, Tara, like, I'm actually from Seattle, go Hawks all day. But right now I'm 3 hours outside of Seattle. So it's actually a small town. And I moved here when I was 30 to take the radio job that I have now. And when I was 30, I, for some reason, started freaking out. And the reason was, society tells you, especially if you're a Christian woman like I am, you have the goal in life as a woman is to get married and have kids. And I hit 30 and I was like, oh my God, I did not make the goal. What's happening? And I started spiraling out of control because, again, moving here in this small town, everybody I was hanging out with is married and have kids, been married since they was 17, basically. Because when you live in a small town, that's what you do. That's the cycle. You just, do what your parents did. And I never felt what I felt at 30, because I lived in Seattle. I went to Howard University. I lived in Indianapolis. I've been to Atlanta. Like, I'm traveling the world. I'm living my best life.
Living best.
And all of my friends were doing that, right? So again, I moved here, slapped me in the face, like, you did not reach the goal. Hurry up. So I began to not trust the process and not trust God. And I was forcing relationships. And unfortunately, ended up in this abusive relationship for 2 years, which of course at the time you don't know it's abusive, right? Well, at least I didn't, because I didn't have the tools to know, like, yo, this is not healthy. And I knew it was weird. I actually knew it was a weird relationship the first 2 weeks in. The first 2 weeks in, and I knew I shouldn't have done it. I knew that I should not be dating this guy. But again, I wanted to make the relationship work, and he was fine as hell. So, so
combination right there.
Girl, listen, saying all the right things, blah, blah, blah. And so I bypassed a lot of the red flags, as we do, cruising along in these relationships, because we have to make it work, right? So anyway, that relationship went on for 2 years. And when I tell you it was a gaslighting, narcissistic, love bombing relationship, all these definitions or things I didn't know, because nobody has conversations with you about, okay, this is abuse, this is a healthy relationship versus this is an unhealthy relationship. I mean, Tara, did your parents ever told you this is narcissism, this is love bombing? Like,
no, we don't got that game. Yes.
We're not put on game. Like the psychology of humanness, we're not put on game. And so that relationship ended in 2017. And and matter of fact, I was in Atlanta, girl. Listen, I probably seen you. It was a long distance relationship. He had played for a football team up here, and he was from Atlanta. So we did the long distance thing. Mind you, I'm paying for everything because he don't really have. So when I say football player, this is not like a Seahawks player. He's trying to make it to the NFL at this time, and I believe his potential.
And you being a rider that you are,
Right. Trying to do this ride or die thing, whatever that means. And for everything, because I got my career. As you see, this is my house. Like, I'm good. Like, I've always been financially good. That's one of the things my parents did bless me with. And so anyway, so I'm in Atlanta, and he literally, Tara, listen to this. He breaks up with me and says, I just can't trust you. So And that was the argument our whole 2 years, right? And I
Wow.
never cheated. I've never been a cheater. I've never been sneaky. None of that, right? He tells me that, mind you, 2 months later, some girl slid into my DMs telling me that she was with him at the same time I was, and that she wanted to apologize to me because she thought that I knew, and she thought we all knew. And of course I didn't. So there was a lot of projection. Again, a definition, nobody talks to us about this, right? So there was projection going on because he would always accuse me of cheating, always. You sneaky, you this, you that. And he would always tell me all of these things that I began to believe because, again, there's a lot of things at play. I'm thinking I need to get married and have kids. So I'm trying to force this relationship. And then also I'm thinking because, as Oprah says, life comes at you in whispers. And if you don't listen, you'll hit the brick wall, and you better listen. Like that's your hit rock bottom moment. And so my whole life, even with boyfriends, but it starts with teachers, I was told, you talk too much. Go sit out in the hall. Go to the principal's office. Like I was a good kid. I just, yep.
But that's why you're doing radio now. Makes sense.
Get the time for the past 17 years. Exactly.
Getting paid to do it.
God knew the talent he put in me, but I didn't, right? Like I thought that I was too much, and I had heard that from so many boyfriends before. And so then I began to think, oh, so they get to tell me who I am then, because that's how I'm coming off. So I've heard this my whole life, so it must be. So I started thinking like, well, I'm the common denominator, so I must be too much. So I have to try to morph into who he wants me to be. So I cut off friends for him, like male best friends. Now all my relationships are repaired, thank God. But cut off friends for him because I was sneaky, and I thought that like, oh, okay, well, I have to do what he says because I need this relationship to work. So back to so he broke up with me in 2017, June of 2017, right around our birthdays, because unfortunately we were like 2 weeks apart in the birthday scheme of things. And so yes, it hurt. I started crying because I couldn't believe, because I knew that I needed to break up with him. And then in that moment, I just couldn't believe that I let this go on for 2 years. I wasn't crying because I was going to miss him. I was just crying like, why did I allow this to happen? What is going on? So in the midst of it, I heard God say, and I'm not somebody who hears like audibles. God is not like, Reka. That don't happen. It's just when you know, right? Like there's a knowing inside of you. And I heard him say, I will use this story. I will use this story. And so I found a little comfort in that. Obviously, I didn't know what it meant at that time, but I'm still crying. And because in that moment, I'm like, well, I don't need to be with him. So I remember calling Alaska Airlines, like, yo, I need to change my flight because I think I was staying for like 5 more days. And I'm crying. And I'm like, how much is it going to cost to change my flight? And she told me $500, and I was so mad because at that time I didn't have it. All I had was my credit cards, so I had to put it on credit. But I knew that I needed to get out of that situation. I had to go. So I ended up buying it, and I was like, you need to take me to the airport. And he took me to the airport, and I walked, and he dropped me off, and I think he tried to give me a hug or something. I remember just getting my bags and just going in and never looking back. You know how sometimes you'd be like, bye. Nope. I was like, head, eye on the prize. You getting out of here. Like I just felt a release. Like, oh, thank you, Jesus. Like I felt like God was like, okay, she ain't gonna listen to me and break up with him. So let me just make it happen, right? So from June to about November of 2017, I had so much shame because nobody knew what was going on. I portrayed this, you know how you be posting pictures on Instagram, which is a lesson I learned. I'll never do that again. Talking about, he the one, I love him, that's my man, showing off, you know? And I never told anybody what was going on, never. Because I just felt like those conversations, again, are not happening. At least they weren't around me. To be able to have a safe space to be like, yo, is a guy allowed to do this? Or blah, 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 you know? And then I remember watching, so Eat, Pray, Love. Have you ever seen that movie?
That sounds familiar. No.
It's with Julia Roberts. She plays this real woman who I can't remember her name, but the woman that she plays is actually like a Oprah girl. So if you ever go on Oprah's tours, this woman tells her story all the time too. But anyway, so Eat, Pray, Love is about her going on a year-long journey of discovering herself. And she travels for a year to like India, to all these places. It's a beautiful movie and it's on Netflix, so watch it.
Ooh, I will.
Yeah, and that's one of my favorite movies, and it's actually one of the only movies I can watch over and over again because it's a lesson in there. And so I was watching that movie and I was like, yo, I need to go on an Eat, Pray, Love trip. I don't have a year, I got a week. And so I bought a plane ticket to go to Mexico just for Christmas of 2017 by myself. And I remember my mom being so mad, you ain't gonna be here for Christmas. Nope, I'm gonna be on the beach with Jesus.
It's gonna be good.
Yeah, because I had to like, for 2 years, I was being told something that wasn't true. And I had to break the chains of that. And I thought like, I just wanna go sit by myself and just listen to me. And I went to Mexico. Mind you, I forgot to say this part of the story. Remember, so I'm on the radio, I'm doing a morning show. And in those 3 months of shame, like it was so hard because I pride myself in being honest and being real on the radio, but I never told the story. Never told, I couldn't, I was, again, ashamed of what I had just allowed. Like sometimes during commercial breaks, I would tell my co-host like, yo, I'll be right back. And I would go in the bathroom and cry. Dang, like, what is this? Like, just, when you don't want to feel something, you be trying to shake it off. Like, can I just shed this? Like, what is this? So, so during that time, I'm being fake. So I go to Mexico and there were 3 questions that I asked myself. And one was, who does God say I am? Because whatever he was telling me I was, my abusive ex, it can't be true. God can't say that stuff about me. My parents don't even talk to me the way he talks to me. Like nobody does. Why did I allow him to do that? So I knew that I needed to get grounded in something. And I grew up a Christian, was baptized probably at 3 minutes old. And so I knew like, I need to go back to God. Like I always believed in God, but I never really, when my parents would tell me, yo, your relationship with God is your faith. That's your Christianity. That's your armor. I never really, we don't listen to our parents. Why?
Right.
Know anything. And so I knew at that moment, yo, I gotta pivot. I gotta turn back. God is knocking. And so so I went down there and I asked, who does God say that I am? Who do I say that I am? And how do I want to show up in the world from now on? And I took a journal, I took a pen. Look, I don't know nothing about life right now. Like I didn't know these things were gonna help me, but I just knew I gotta get it out and I gotta hear my own voice. So I took a journal, I took a pen, and I took 2 books. And I took The Purpose-Driven Life by Pastor Rick Warren. If you've never read that book, Tara, you need to read that book.
I got that one.
Such a good book. It's such a good book. And then that was the time that Gabrielle Union was doing her promotion for We're Gonna Need More Wine. And I think I actually bought that in the airport. I can't remember how I got that book, but somehow those are the 2 books that I brought with me to Mexico. And so I'm on the beach, watching the Mexicans and having a good old time, and I'm reading my book. And in The Purpose-Driven Life, Pastor Rick Warren, I'm a paraphrase, but I know that there's a line in there that says, your biggest shame will be the thing that heals others. That's your testimony. And God wants you to use it. And so remember back in 2017, when he broke up with me, I heard God say, I will use this story. And then I read this from Pastor Rick Warren and I was like, okay. But that I did feel a little bit of a release from the shame. Like, okay, cool. And then when I was reading Gabrielle Union's book, I'm reading the book and I was like, did Gabrielle Union write this book about me? I'm so confused. I thought she said she was writing a book about me. What is happening? And I felt seen, dude. Like she had went through the same thing I went through. Like I didn't know she was married before Dwayne Wade. I didn't know that. Yeah, like I didn't know she was going through all of this stuff during Bring It On, during all the like drama with men. Because her parents also, she comes from a 2-parent household, although I do think they're divorced now. But her parents also never told her this is a healthy relationship versus this is an unhealthy relationship. So we out here doing this thing that humans do called dating, and we don't even know the rules.
We don't even know what we doing.
We don't even know. We just dating because that's what people do. So I guess I'm dating. So I felt so seen, like, yo, oh my God, like I loved her book. If I ever get to meet Gabby, I will definitely be like, yo, you made me feel seen and made me feel less stupid. Like, oh, I'm not the dumbest woman in the world. Oh, okay. So there are other women who do these things trying to love a man into loving them, you know? And so, yep, read that book, and I just had a great time in Mexico and really got a lot of my thoughts out and wrote it down. The Mexican men loved me. It was great.
Like, pull anybody you want, sis.
Right. They were like, why are you so low? No novio? No. And I'm like, no, I'm just, on my journey. Da, da, da. And I had a good time. And from my journals and a lot of the journaling that I did, I turned it into blogs because I was like, yo, I need to I feel like I'm supposed to get this out. And it turned into blogging and like a lot of lessons that I learned. And once I started opening up on air about it and started sharing my blog with my listeners, I noticed like the relationship with me and my listeners change from, oh, Reka's so funny and she's entertaining to, yo, Reka, like I would get message about, yo, you helped me. I left my boyfriend because of you. They were feeling seen like I was feeling when I read Gabrielle Union's book. And so that felt good. And it was also very healing to me, right? To like, just get it out. As they say, the truth will set you free, right? Like, what do I have to be embarrassed for? Like, I know that there are going to be some people who laugh at me and tell me I'm a stupid woman for doing that, but I need to focus on the women that I believe God wants me to help. So it really started with blogging. I didn't know Single You was going to come from it. But I did know that there was a message that I needed to get out, if not only to heal myself, but to help others. And so that journey brought me to creating Single You and being a life coach, certified, all of that.
Certified, let them know, sis.
I mean, I got that piece of paper, paid for it all with them. That was like 4 months of school. It was crazy. And, and creating this program, this curriculum that helps women to stop tying their identity to men, stop morphing into who he wants you to be, and be you. Like, discover your worth and stop doing the things that you think you have to do for him to stay.
Everything that you said, I can relate so wholeheartedly. And I feel like so many women can relate to this. And we get ourselves so emotionally involved in these relationships, trying to play wifey, want these fairy tales. But really what stuck out to me in your story, how you explained gaslighting and love bombing. Can you please drop some gems on that? Because we're not really aware of that.
Right. Yeah. So, okay, love bombing is what was happening in the beginning of our relationship. Remember I said in the first 2 weeks, I knew that something was off, but I couldn't pinpoint it. Like, I was just like, oh, this is weird, and that's what we do, right? We're like, but whatever, I'm just tripping. Mm-hmm. Okay, because we want to be in this relationship so bad because we're tying our identity to having a man because that makes us worthy. Okay, no, you are worthy regardless of your relationship status. But so it was around my birthday. It was weird because we got together around our birthdays and then we broke up around our birthdays, which there's a whole story in there about big things in my life always happen in June around my birthday, like June, July. But anyway, so he, for my birthday, bought me a DVD player. Okay, back then it was 2015 and I have DVDs still. I know, okay, who needs a DVD player? But I had mentioned in a conversation, like, oh, I wish I had a DVD player so I can like watch my movies or whatever. So he bought me one, a little Goodwill one, whatever. But I thought it was cute. Aw, and in that moment, he was like, yeah, oh, okay, that's cute. And in that moment, he said, yo, I think I think I love you. Mind you, this is 2 weeks, Tara, 2 weeks. And I am somebody that doesn't really fall in love that quick. Like, I just, okay. So I was like, oh, we don't have to say it now. You know what I mean? Like, we can, thank you. And I didn't say it back. And I get being embarrassed, but let me tell you, this baby left my house angry in my car, drove back to his little apartment and sat in his apartment and ignored my phone calls for like a day. It was either a day or two.
Not the little apartment.
In my car. If that don't tell me stuff that I should have been, like, we're not even on the same level, B. Like, what are we doing? But again, he was so fun and I wanted to be in this relationship.
Yeah.
But so he left my house and he was upset, ignored me for like a day or two. Then I finally went to his house and was like, yo, like, what's up? He was like, you don't love me. Like, was really sulking and sad, which then turned into me feeling bad for him. Like, oh, that's so cute. Like, he likes me so much. And then the like, because love bombing is showering you with love. He was like, I just love you so much. I mean, you're so big, saying all the things that I want to hear. Like, I just don't understand. Like, is it me? Like, he was the victim and I felt bad. So now I was like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, you know that. And then gaslighting came in when, again, he would tell me that I was cheating. So I'm on the radio in a small town. So a lot of people know me and a lot of people do get excited about me if they see me. And so I remember being at a club one time and this guy was like, oh my God, he was drunk, of course. Like, oh my God, Reka, I love you. Like, I listen to you every day. Da, 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 da. And he was kind of hovering. And my boyfriend got so, like, I could feel him staring at me like lasers. And then finally, when the dude left, he was like, yo, I need to speak to you for a second. You know how dudes be. And he was like, yo, I just really don't appreciate you flirting with that dude or whatever. And we had this whole conversation about I was flirting and I disrespected him. And I was like, no, I didn't. But he convinced me, he explained it so well and was convincing me. And in my mind, I was like, was I flirting? Like, I was confused, like, because gaslighting is making you believe something that's not true. That you know, and even with my co-host at the time, he would try to convince me that my co-host had a crush on me. And I was like, no, he doesn't. He was like, yeah, you do. Mind you, he married with 2 kids, my co-host. And I was like, does he? And then I started questioning my co-host, like, oh, maybe, like, because he was just so good. And I don't know if he is narcissistic. This is just a self-diagnosis, I guess, off of things that I've read and the journey that I went on and finding these definitions and what happened to me. And when I read it, I was like, oh my God, this happened to me. And I don't know where he is in life now on his journey, but I do know that relationship had a lot of that. Narcissism, love bombing, gaslighting, and even reading it, you feel stupid. Like, yo, how could I thought I was smart. Like, what is happening? But we do. When there's a lot of layers and you want this man to love you and he's fine and you think you need to be married, there's a lot of layers if you don't know who you are. And so that's why in Single You, we find what is your base foundation? So then when you're moving around in this world, society, your parents, a man cannot tell you who you are because you will be so firm, 10 toes down in who you are, and you're not swaying with the wind. Like, oh, well, I'm going to go this way. I'm going to go this way. I'm going to go this way.
And those are mind games we tend to get played with. Those mind tricks are so key that comes at us. And I love how you make sure that we find out is the core of our being and trying to find our identity, because society does put this pressure on women that we need to be married, have kids. And then now that makes us play wifey to a boyfriend and we be cooking, cleaning, doing laundry, trying to keep a man. What have you observed from that is falling a suit to that pressure?
Getting in relationships we don't want to be in. I get it. I ask people a lot, like, why are you dating? And they're like, oh, because, I have the desire. Because we do as humans, we desire to date. We need touch as humans. I get it. But I bet you when you were dreaming of your relationship when you were 7, you weren't like, you know what I want, Tara? I want a dysfunctional relationship. I want a guy who doesn't text me back right away or takes 2 days to text me back. I want a guy who hides from me, secret, locks his phone, never shows me his phone, never is where he says he's going to be, doesn't have it. Like, we don't say that, but we also don't know what we actually want because nobody sat us down and had conversations with us. When you go to your friend's baby shower or birthday parties for their kids, somebody, old auntie, is always like, so where your man? It's never about, so are you happy? How's your career going? What do you want out of life? It's never that. It always directly shoots to, where's your man and how come you don't have kids?
Yes,
It's
like that defines our happiness.
Yeah, exactly. I had one girl tell me, and I literally started crying when she told me this. And I say girl, she's really a woman. She's actually older than me. She's like 43. She actually lives in Atlanta too. And she's one of my clients. And she said, Reka, I have to tell you that because of you and because of the curriculum, because I mean, this is curriculum video. This ain't just, I mean, we digging deep.
Play.
Right, this ain't play, baby. This is your life. Your life, and relationship can detour your life. Pause it, stop it for a while until you finally wake up and see like, oh, I get to decide what kind of relationship I have. The man doesn't decide, okay? Anyway, so she was like, because of your curriculum and single you, I am now able to have these conversations with my daughter. So her daughter's 20 in college, with my daughter, and break a generational curse that was put on me by what I observed through my dysfunctional ass parents. So the way she didn't come from like my 2-parent household where my parents are still married, and my parents had a great marriage. They just never had the conversation with me, and I didn't piece it together well on how to get to what they had, right? So, but with her, I mean, dysfunction after cheating, other baby mamas, and we think that's cute because we see it on Love and Hip Hop. That's it. That's a relationship. Oh well. And so when she told me she's able to break a generational curse and realize that she was dating stupid and didn't even know. I mean, she was so hyped that she was able to tell a guy, no, stop him in his tracks about something that he was doing. I think he basically she did something that pissed him off, in air quotes, and then he didn't talk to her for 2 days. And she used to let that fly. Like, oh, my bad, I did something.
Wow.
She was able to verbally express in a grown-up way how that was disrespectful and that she would not be talking to him anymore. And just in that, she was so proud of herself. So proud of herself. And she was like, and then I didn't answer his calls and he stopped calling or whatever. But I just felt so good for standing up for myself, because I saw where the relationship could have gone to dysfunction land. I didn't want to get on that train no more. And so I finally stood up for myself and was like, no, instead of being in fear that if I stick up for myself, he will leave me. But that's the beauty. You stick up for yourself, he leave. Good.
Right. Save you so much more time now.
Now I don't have to waste my time on you. Perfect.
Right.
Yeah, but we see it as a negative, like, oh, I don't want to be alone. I don't want him to leave me.
Wow, yeah, we be sometimes so desperate for love and settling for less. And like how you said, some relationships, toxic relationships, can really detour you from your promised land that God intended you to be on. Yeah. And now it's time to take back your power and your destiny like that. And it's so funny how you keep saying about we are not dating properly. We weren't taught the game like this. And we it's like society told us like we need a relationship in order to be successful, but we never take time to step into our power of singleness. I want you to talk more about the power of singleness.
Girl, again, how much time do we have? Okay, one of the things, so as I was talking about earlier, I've been a Christian my whole life, right? Baptized at 3 minutes old, I swear.
3 minutes.
But I never listened to my parents when they were like, listen, Christianity is about your relationship with God. You don't worry about what other people are doing. Your relationship, so you need to be face first in that Bible and learning who Jesus really was, right? I never did that until, again, 2017. Era, when I tell you, I read in the Bible, because Paul wrote like over 50% of the Bible, Apostle Paul. There is a scripture, and it is, the actual verse is escaping my mind right now. But anyway, there's a scripture where Paul says, it is better to be single. Do you know that I picked up my Bible and threw it across the room? Nobody told me this. I was so
mad. I never seen it.
No, listen, because, and Paul is not against marriage. He's not saying that. what he is saying is, if you don't have the fire inside you, which is your sexual urge, you can actually be single, and it's better because then you can actually live out your purpose that God has for you better. Because if you don't know who you are and then you get married and then you start having kids, you're going to be so confused or pouring your all into them that your purpose is deaded. It's just
and a lot of women do that.
How many times have you heard your friends say, or women say, I lost myself and my kids and my husband trying to create, because we have this what society does to women too, is like, we have to be this perfect mom. So then we put all our all, when that's not how it's supposed to go either. So Paul is just saying, listen, if you can be single and not be having all these sexual urges and sleeping with 30 people in 2 days, cool, just be single. But if you do have a fire inside, you should find a wife and blah, blah, blah. So when I read that, that released me from the chains of God. It makes me a good woman if I'm married. Like, God wants that for me. So I have to hurry up and get married. Like, I had a client tell me she was actually engaged when and I get that question a lot. Do you coach married women? I will coach anybody who is ready to discover their worth and stop tying their identity to men. So this particular client was engaged when she came to me, because she said she felt like, her testimony to me was, I felt like my relationship was kind of already unhealthy, but I needed to see it from outside sources, because I grew up in this Christian homeschooled background, and I was taught that that's what you do. You find the husband. And she was afraid to break up with him. But with my course, she then realized and was able to have a conversation with him. And they came up with, you know what, we're both not happy. So let's just go ahead and part ways. We don't have to do this. And I told her, I get it. We make the breakup mean more than what it actually should mean. And she goes, I know, but that's the background. And I feel so free now. Like, because she didn't go through with what she was told that she had to do. And she's only 23. She's only 23. And so for me, everybody talks about they want to be a Proverbs 31 woman. And I'd be like, have you actually read that scripture then?
Because she's working. Sis working.
She's doing her thing. And she's not worried about a guy. She's on her own path. And if somebody happens to come on their own path and meets up with you and y'all can build together, great.
There we go.
But you can't be on your own path and he over here just chilling, and you on your own path and now you got to tow him. So without a guy, I've been able to build my business, pay off my debt, provide for myself. And that's really where your confidence and
he's cheering you on.
Right. When you're able to do for yourself and you're crossing off your goals and your aspirations and things that you want to do, that is actually where your confidence comes from. You know, like, that is where your pride in yourself, you're like, yeah, look what, I mean, it could be as simple as like, because one of the things that I did after that relationship early on was there was so much chaos in my mind that I didn't want to come home to chaos, like in my house. So I made a rule that I had to put everything back where it belonged, like my shoes. I couldn't just throw my clothes on the floor no more. I had to wash the dishes. And in that is where I began to build myself up. Like, when I would do what I said I wanted to do, wash the dishes before I go to bed, put my clothes back. It seems super simple, but how many times have you finished your to-do list, Tara, and you're like, I did that.
Accomplished.
Right, accomplished. It could be as simple as that stuff. It doesn't have to be, I have to build a business in 2 years. It don't have to be that. It's just actually accomplishing. That's how you build it. You slowly build it, and then you get to higher goals, of course. But that's how you build your confidence. And you cannot be confident in always looking for a guy. That is not going to bring you peace and happiness. Because first of all, we shouldn't be looking anyway. If we want to take it back to the Bible, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. Again, you're Proverbs 31 and you on your own journey, and then he's supposed to come along and be like, hey, what's up? Okay. And then y'all start building. But both of y'all have to have a good foundation. That's movie Jerry Maguire lied to us. You complete me. Shut up. Yeah.
I can't breathe without you. Ooh, that's dangerous. That's dangerous. And it's so crazy that we tend to just lose ourselves in this life. And it's so important to unlearn and relearn a lot of different things, because we really do just fall into suit and live these fairy tale lifestyles and just get wrapped up into what society tells us, these made up rules. I be wanting to know who made up boyfriends, because that sounds play to me. I really don't get it.
Listen, I had a girl, speaking of made up rules, I had one of my clients ask me, what do people mean by behind every good man, there's a good woman?
Ooh.
And I said, who said that? Why do you have to where did that come? What are we talking about right now? What do you mean? What did they mean? Like, because she was like, because you always say don't believe in potential. Mm-hmm. And I said, when you're hearing all of these cliches and whatnot, you have to take it with a grain of salt. And if you just need to follow it, you need to define it for yourself. What does that mean? Why did so you telling me that behind a good man can't be single as well, or you as a good woman can't be, like, that sounds stupid. Shut up.
Yes, I'm telling you. And I feel like some people, they made up these rules so you won't tap into your fullest potential. So you end up being distracted and hurt and broken. But like how you said, you have to be building yourself up, building your confidence, and you are going to find whoever that is meant to be with you. But oh, I love how you said, like, it's a man that finds a wife finds a good thing. We are the prize, sis.
Bag, honey. You the bag. You the whole bag. But honestly, are you though? You need to, again, if you're gonna be a Proverbs 31 woman, if I could talk, then you need to be building your foundation and bag. Why should a guy be with you if you ain't shit either? Like, you have to get it together. Both of you guys have to be whole. Whole. It's not about I find my other rib or my better half. Like, what does that mean? Shut up.
Complete me, right? You should be already completed.
Already. In a relationship with God or even yourself. I don't know if, listen, I believe in God, I know, but I just hope that everybody believes in some type of higher power. But you need to find yourself in your wholeness and then decide, do I even want to date or be married or have kids? Or are you saying you want that because that's what society shows us? That's the mirror they show us.
That's what they view as success, that you need to be married and have kids. You can't live this life of traveling,
right?
Being on radio, you know, working, building this empire.
You can't do that as a woman. But look at Tracy Ellis Ross, Oprah. Like, I know she got her little stand man, but still, she don't have no kids, and she knew early on she couldn't have kids. Barbara Walters, I believe it was her, has a daughter, and she says that she does regret not really having her daughter, but it was something about, I wish I would have made a better choice in that decision because I worked too much. And look what I did. I think her daughter went on, she was an alcoholic, and just because her mom was never there because she loved working. And that's Oprah knew that early on. Like, I'm going to love work too much. I can't have kids.
And that's when you're choosing your purpose. Yeah. And you're sacrificing your own ego, your own wants and your desires to truly live out what God told you to do.
Yeah. And how do you know that if you always looking for a guy and worried about how come he don't like me? How come I don't have a man? Because when we don't have a man, we think that means there's something wrong with us. Why? Why does the man get to determine your worthiness?
Sis, I get the question so much. Where your boyfriend at? Where your husband? I'm like, why can't you ask where I'm at? Like how I'm doing? But that is crazy. They placed a chip in our head to believe like that is what we have to live our life based around.
Yep, is having that man, because that completes you. That makes you worthy. But that it comes from, like, I mean, you know, I know Ruth Bader Ginsburg just died, and it was actually because of her that we broke a lot of those chains. I mean, when my mom was born, and even go back to our grandparents, you couldn't own a house without a man. You couldn't have credit without a man. There were so many things that you couldn't do, and that still somehow seeped in our society, even though now I can own this house and my name, and that is it, is on the deed to this house. That my car, and that is it. My credit cards. Like, I didn't need anybody. And as my mom got older, those laws ended, and so she can do whatever by the time she got married to my dad, she could do whatever she wanted, but that's still seeped in us, and that older generation, you know, I think us millennials and definitely Gen Z, we trying to break, there's a lot of things that we breaking from, exactly, that we breaking from that baby boomer generation. I mean, even mental health and all of that. So we literally don't have to, and let's pray that it continues. I know there's a lot going on in politics right now, but we literally don't have to have a man to do anything now, period.
Wow.
So, yeah, so we're like the generation who gets to decide.
Yeah.
Like, that's something I want to do.
And that is the beauty of having our rights now. And I'm like, wow, I got my rights. Yeah. So you best believe I'm about to take full advantage of this journey.
Full advantage.
And I love how you put God first and you don't put men on a pedestal. I feel like that's where we get it all, as women, get it all confused. We put so much faith in men. We put them on this pedestal, and then we lose our relationship with God. Can you tell us more about how you have just such a strong and solid relationship with God?
Yeah, you know, again, one of the things that I asked myself in 2017 is who does God say I am? Mm-hmm. And I remember buying a book that had all of the women in the Bible, and I read every woman in the Bible because I was trying to find myself in, you know, in God and these women. And Vashti is one of my favorites, and it's actually my little niece's name. And the name fits her so well. She a little 8-year-old firecracker. Vashti was married to a king, and I can't remember his name. And he wanted way back then, wanted her to come out and parade herself in front of his friends, these men. And she told him, no, I'm not doing that. I'm cool. So of course she got in trouble or whatever, but the fact that she stood up to him and was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not entertaining your men because of my beauty. You want to show off my beauty or whatever. And I love that, because instead of putting her king on a pedestal, she was putting herself and God on this pedestal. Like, I don't have to do that. And I will say this, there was one more lesson that I had to learn after my abusive ex. My college sweetheart, in quotes, came back. So we dated at 19. He's one of the boys that told me I was too much, which started me on this cycle of thinking that I was just too much and I had to morph into what the guy wanted me to be. So here he come back after that relationship, talking about he, and we didn't talk often. He would text me like every 2 years to check up on me, but I knew he had a girl. But anyway, he came back talking about, you the one, you always been the one, I love you, this and that, blah, blah, blah. And I fell for it because the dream, and I was still healing at that time, but the dream of, I fell in love with the dream of my college sweetheart coming back. We both went to Howard. Like, I fell in love with that story of what it would have been. And so we dated for about 9 months. And in that 9 months, he lived in DC at this time. Again, I'm here in Washington State. In that 9 months, he found a job to come to Seattle to work at Amazon. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so cute. Look at him moving for me. Like, those are the actions I'm looking for. Woo. Mind you, in this whole time that we were together, I kept asking him, yo, we need to talk about our finances. Like, what's your credit score? Da, 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 da. And he kept coming up with an excuse on why he did not want to show me his credit. Like, I'm embarrassed. So I felt bad for him. He's like, man, it's not as good as yours. Woo, woo, woo. So he gets the job. In the midst of trying to move, he had mentioned that he didn't have no money to move. And that was a crossroads, and I should have went right instead of left, where I said, oh, I can help you. Here's my credit card. Do you know he racked up $10,000 on my credit card? November. So we started talking back in March again, like March of, I think this was 2018. Come November, he started acting funny. He moved to Seattle, got the job, and he was like, I'll pay you back because I'm going to get a bonus. Woo, woo, woo. Never got the bonus. Or if he did, I don't know, didn't get it. Then he breaks up with me saying, I'm too much. I have it two together. Girl, and left me because my eye stopped being on the prize, which was my relationship with God, because I'm still on this journey. And at that time, I had said, I had pledged against celibacy, like I didn't want to. But do you know, in that time, of course, gave it up to him, gave him my money because he's saying all the things. I'm like, oh, it's like we're married anyway, blah, blah, blah. And he left me $10,000 in debt, girl. Now, I will say over the course of 2019, he was sending me money to pay me back. But that was the last lesson I needed to learn. Like, no, I need to do what I say I'm going to do and not undo it because a guy comes. Do you want to live the way God wants you to live, or do you want to live the way a man wants you to live so you can be with him? And there's a Taylor Swift song, and one of the lyrics is, "You can tell me when it's over if the high was worth the pain." And I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's not. It's not. It wasn't. That wasn't worth it. For what? For what? What was that about? What was that about? And I left. I forgot for a second. I went haywire for a second because, again, I fell for it again. And so what that was showing me was your eye needs to be on the prize, and you need to do what you say you want. You stay with God, and He will. Because, again, I had a little bit of residue of like, dang, now I'm 35. My ex came back again. I fell in love with the story, and I was trying to rush it. Like, oh, this is him. This is him. But if it was him, then he would have waited. He would have said, oh, you said you wanted to wait till we're married? Cool, I'll wait with you. And again, if he leaves, then he's not the guy for me. And then also the guy who was for me wouldn't have even taken my credit card. He would have been like, I'll figure it out.
That masculine man.
I want to move for you, so I'll figure it out. You know, instead of relying on me, like, what is that? So that is why we have to stay firm in what we say we want in these moments when we don't have a God. And then not switch it and change up once he come and he fine and he's saying all the things and you falling in love with this dream, because the guy that is for you will wait with whatever it is. I'm not saying everybody has to wait till they're married. That's just something I'm gonna choose to do now because it wasn't worth it. The high was never worth the pain that I got, ever.
The heartbreak don't be worth it.
Heartbreak, I'm like, what was that? What was I doing? I gotta stay firm in that relationship, man.
Yes, having that obedience with God is so necessary. And I feel like when you do save yourself, then you get rid of the clowns. Like, the clowns run as fast as they can.
Yeah. And that showed me in that moment that I still had a little residue of wanting a man so bad. And if I don't do this, then he'll leave. But now I don't care. I'm like, okay.
Right.
A couple dudes now between then and now, I'm like, oh, I don't. And they be like, bye, and they'll leave, they ghost me or whatever, and I'm like, okay. Like, you have to stop getting your feelings hurt when a guy doesn't want to be with you. It's actually a blessing in disguise.
God is trying to save us.
Yeah, because you've seen this story before. We've seen it before. Like, I'm 37, I've seen it a million times. I'm cool. There's nothing a guy can say to me ever again that will get me to morph myself into who he wants me to be. Ever again. I'm cool. Yeah. And it's not about putting up brick walls. You know, I don't want my clients to ever be scared of dating. And I always tell them, not brick walls, but fences. You see through that?
Yeah. Yeah. We have to play this game smart because it's a game that they tend to play with us.
Yep.
Honestly. And I've realized that our society as women, we're being over-sexualized more than ever. You know, sex sells. But I want you to speak to the ladies about getting rid of this Jezebel spirit out here. Yeah.
I mean, you know, as I say to my clients, I'm not here to make you me. I'm just here to make you who you truly want to be. So do you want to be the girl on OnlyFans or no? And then also, if you are being that Jezebel spirit or whatever, why? You need to ask yourself why. Like, is it because he wants you to be, or that's how you feel you're going to attract a man? Like, we can't expect to attract a man with loyalty and honesty, with that type of demeanor, in my opinion. Has it happened before? Of course. My parents met at a club. Okay. But they are the exception, not the rule. We cannot, Pastor Michael Todd says this a lot, we cannot define our lives on the exception. Because everybody will say, well, I didn't sleep. I slept with my man, my husband, before we got married, and we've been married 15 years. Great. I'm sure my parents did too. But I have now experienced the side of having sex within 2 weeks or 3 months or whatever. It didn't work out for me. So why would I do that again? Isn't that insanity? And I love to use Jay-Z and Beyonce and Cardi B and Offset as examples. And I don't know these people. It's just from the outside looking in. When Jay-Z cheated on Beyonce, he went and got help, and mental health became his platform. When Offset cheated on Cardi, he just bought her flowers, was like, my bad, and didn't and did it again, right? He cheated on her again, and that's probably why they're getting a divorce. But the difference is Jay-Z knew that he needed to change himself. He wasn't cheating on Beyonce because Beyonce did something. Jay-Z went and changed himself. And so, and Offset didn't, right? At least, again, from the outside looking in, there was no, if he's not changing his environment, you're not going to change. And so that goes for us too. So when you have this Jezebel spirit and you have these experiences that are not good, at least that was me, then I have to change my environment. I have to change. Yeah. So what do you want, sweetheart? What do you want? That's what I would ask a woman. Like, what do you want? What kind of man do you think this is going to attract? And it's not about taking away your femininity. You can still be sexy in a suit. It's not about shaming or chastising anybody. Have WAP on, sing it all you want to. I don't care. But I'm just asking you, what do you think this is going to attract to you?
Yeah, shallowness. And you can be sexy in your room. You know, if you want to get naked, look yourself in the mirror and do that. I don't feel like everybody needs to see that part of you. And especially the wrong ones do not deserve that part of you.
Don't deserve it. Yeah.
Realizing that we are the treasure in our temple is everything like that.
Again, you have to realize that. And you have to ask yourself, what is this going to attract to me? Because if I wanted to, listen, I know Kim Kardashian made butts popular and J-Lo. I've had this butt since I was 12 and I be all over Instagram, and this is real. I didn't have to pay for it. I mean, I was the girl who would go swimming and I would put sweaters over my butt because I was so awkward and uncomfortable. But I definitely got all of that. And if I wanted to, I can attract so many men and be doing, you know what I mean? But I don't want that. And I've never been that girl anyway, but I definitely know now, what is it that I want to attract? And that is not it. Those types of men, that's not what I want.
Oh yeah, that's the Offset type of man. Honestly, you got the one that drink Henny and smoke weed. That's what they say in WAP. That's what the type of men they want us to attract.
Yeah.
I think you got to run quickly from those.
Listen, so some guy I met in like January or something up here, and he approached me and was like, "Oh, I just, you're so beautiful, da, 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 can I get your number?" And I was like, "Okay, let's see." So in the first 2 days, I realized he ain't the one for me, because the way he was talking about my body already, he was like, "Dang girl, you so sexy, you got, oh my God, da, da." Like, I don't want a guy who is going to be overly sexual in the first 2 days that we meet. Like, this is not, because that's letting me know where this relationship is going. I've seen this story before. Okay, no. We can talk about other things. And that's one of the things that one of my, I guess, pillars of how I date. I have so many guy friends. Remember I told you with my ex, I had to cut him off, but now we're all good now. I have so many guy friends, and I'm like, if I cannot have a friendship like this with my next boyfriend or husband, then I'm not doing it. Yeah. And none of my guy friends talk to me like that. None of them. So if we can't have a foundation, we can get to the sex. We'll get to that. That's later. I mean, even one of the books that you should read if you haven't is The Wait with and Megan. Such a good book. And The Wait is worth it, right? And that's the relationship I want. No matter what you say, somebody else, Loving Hip Hop, Offset, whatever. Oh, you ain't gonna get that. Ain't no dude gonna wait for you. Ain't How you know? So you met every dude in this world? I'm so confused. How you know? You only think that is because that's what surrounds you. But you have to start thinking outside of the box. And I don't want that type of dude who is like, dang, in the first 2 weeks, first 2 days, first 2 minutes, dang, girl, you so sexy. Right. It's not for me, because that lets me know your character. And my answer says, believe people when they show you who they are.
Yes, that's amazing. You said you read him off of the first day, and that's when we can't ignore the signs. Sometimes we get infatuated just by the looks, but you got to make love to my mind. And I'm trying to marry my best friend. So we can't hold a conversation like we holding right now for an hour and just going off of the dome. Then it's just not there.
Right. And there's so much to talk about right now. Look at our political landscape. First of all, I need to know, are you voting for Trump or not? Because if you are, then we ain't even here. So there's so many things to talk about, and we just bypass all of that and just go to looks. And being so excited because he is like, we get like a little girl when a dude hits on us, like we're 7 years old again. Oh my God, he's so fine, and he said I was pretty, and we just bypass all of the red flags. And I put up a barrier with that dude. I said, hey, look, I don't know where you're trying to go with this relationship, but I will say what I told myself is blah blah blah, like I'm not having sex. And of course he ghosted me. I ain't heard from him since then.
Wow.
And that's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, and I see that as women, we tend to build a bear. We try to go after the looks, like, oh, he needs to have money, he needs to be this tall, and we forget about their character, though.
Yeah. And what is it that he can provide for me that I already don't have? So that's why you need to know yourself, right? So I hear a lot of girls say, I want a man who's loyal. Okay, what does that mean? How are you going to see that within his actions and the way that he's living his life, that he is loyal? You need to figure that out.
You got to get deep.
And that's what we do in Single You. And then also, who are you? So then you're flawed, because we are flawed. I mean, in Single You, I talk about how we could be toxic too. Like, I'm not out here talking about we the best and we're just perfect and we just wait. All these guys are messing up. No. We have flaws too. Mm-hmm. So, like, about your personality. So for me, it's about, I am not good. I'm getting better, but I am not the best at expressing my emotions. So I'm going to need a guy who is okay with the journey that I am going to have to go on in order to express what it is I really want and need. So he's going to have patience. I mean, that goes to the scripture. Love is kind, love is patient, all of that, right? So you have to know who you are, so then you can build this guy or whatever, this list that you have about what type of guy you need in order to be feeding you as well. And we don't do that. Like you said, it's like, he need to be 6'5". He needs to work at Amazon because he needs to have a good 401k. Like, I get it. Yes, I need you to be financially stable, but what else? Let's dig deeper. What's going to help you? And then help him. And then what are his flaws? And how can you help him?
Yeah.
Because, Pastor Darius Daniel says all the time, like, a relationship is where our greatest joy and our greatest pain come from.
Relationship is not easy. You're dealing with a whole nother person, emotions. Gotta lift them up if they sad.
Yeah.
It ain't you.
Yeah. Yep. And it's finding that puzzle piece that does fit you, where you guys can work together. Not saying it's going to be perfect. I mean, those are conversations we have in Single You as well. Like, what do married people mean when they say marriage is hard? Because a girl who grew up in a household where her mother got beat all the time, she thinks that is hard. But that's not what you mean, I assume, if you're married, right? So I bring a lot of guests to Single You. We meet on Zoom like this, and that's one of the conversations we had with my cousin, who's been married for 18 years, and she's what do they call it? She's not a pastor quite yet, but she's why is it slipping my mind? But anyway, so she's good with her words too, and she has she talks about relationships all the time. And she was saying stuff like, okay, it's about dying to your ego. That's what I mean by hard. So for instance, I'm late all the time and my husband hates that. But he had to make the decision of, okay, am I going to be able to be okay with this? And if I marry this woman, or do I need her to change this? And can I ask? And then will she change it? And no, she didn't. She still she'll be on time for the important stuff, and it still irritates them, and then they kind of bicker about it and they're over it. That's what they mean by hard. Or people lose their jobs, people's parents die, people do ups and downs. Like, think about your emotions when you're by yourself. You be happy or mad in the morning. Maybe you're not a morning person. Maybe you are. Those are the things that are hard, but it's not about being abusive to you or unhealthy. That's not what they mean about hard. But we don't know that. Again, like we said earlier, nobody puts us on game.
This is just so amazing. But can you put us on game about what a healthy relationship looks like? How you stated love is kind, love is patient. We tend to have this fairy tale of what love is and what a relationship is, but we don't really know about what a healthy relationship looks like.
When you're in this relationship, do you feel a weight or do you feel free? Do you feel like you're in chains or do you feel free? Do you feel like you're morphing and changing for him or do you feel like yourself? So I'll give you two examples. One of them comes from my abusive ex. When I was in Atlanta one time, he was working at this club. He was a security guard. He literally told me, again, because he would always accuse me of cheating. He literally told me to go sit at the bar and he was going to watch me and watch how I responded to men hitting on me. Tara, I'd see your face. And I did it though. I did it because I thought, well, I know I'm not a cheater, so I'm going to go prove that I'm not. What are we talking about?
Captain Sable one, you know?
Like, what? I literally did what he told me to do. That is ridiculous. So that is unhealthy because he's insecure and projecting because he's also cheating. And so someone who is insecure, a man who is insecure, will either leave you or abuse you. There is no change in him. That's his own journey. But we think we're God, right? Because women be like, I could change him. I'm ride or die. I'm Captain Save-A-Hoe. I see the wounded dog on the street, so let me take him in. Like, we just have that nurturing, and we need to know that about ourselves so then we can put a wall up. The Bible says, guard your heart, right? And it means stuff like that. You not God. What are you, God? You think you can change a man? Tara, you God? I'm confused.
Right, no, only God can do it.
Right. Like, leave it up to God, boo-boo. Leave it up to God. So then my next example, we actually talked about this in Single You this past Saturday, and it was, I had a guest who's a licensed therapist, and it was about trauma bonding. And he gave an example of this text conversation between a man and a woman. And the woman sent a text to the man in all caps. You said you were going to be working with your dad. I saw you. My friend said she saw you at the club. Where you at? All caps. He responded, oh my God, calm down. My dad canceled. She just, or my dad canceled and I just went to the bar. Ooh. So he asked the women, like, where do you think in this conversation, is this okay? Is it not? And there's so many things that are not okay in that conversation, starting with her cussing him out because he is somewhere else that he said he wouldn't be. You are totally okay to ask that question, but the way that she asked it was disrespectful. And then him saying, calm down, you overreacting. He just dismissing your feelings. Like, you shouldn't even feel a certain type of way that he is somewhere where he said he was going to be somewhere else. He said he was working with his dad, but he's at the club. Okay. So where we fell short is, and this is unhealthy, nobody is communicating. I get it. If you are supposed to be somewhere, so you said, I'm going to go work with my dad. If your dad cancels, then wouldn't a healthy relationship be, Tara, my bad. My dad said I didn't have to work with him, so I'm about to go to the club with my boys. Is that cool? Or not even is that cool, but I'm about to go to the club with my boys. Just so I'm not surprised by somebody else seeing you and they get to tell me where my man is when he said he was going to be somewhere else. So just to get that out of the way. And then also, if it doesn't happen, because we're human and I get it, sometimes we move really fast where, now you don't have to go to work, so now you're about to go to the bar and grab a drink with your boy. Cool, there's nothing wrong with that. But I am still allowed to ask you as a grown-up and say, Tara, you said you was going to be with your dad, but one of my friends says she saw you at the bar. What's up? You can ask that question, but the healthiness comes in when it's a grown-up conversation instead of this cussing each other out. And that's why I say, women, we ain't perfect too, because we love to just pop off. You said you was gonna be
in our emotions. We got to think logical.
So it's okay to ask the question. Ask all the questions. Ask them all. Because that could be shady or it could not be. But ask the question.
Yeah.
In a calm adult, I'm 37. I don't have time to be like, boy, where was you at? I don't have time.
Raising our voice. That's our stress level right there.
And energy gets energy. So if you come in with just negative emotional energy, you're going to get that back. That's corny. I don't want that corny, petty relationship. I want to be able to just say, yo, Tara, you said you was going to be working with your dad, but my friend said she saw you at the bar with your boy. What's up?
Right.
And then he answered the question. Oh yeah, my bad. I was, I should have told you. It's not about letting somebody control you. And if you're in fear of asking a question because you are in fear that he will leave you or in fear that you'll find out he's cheating on you, that ain't healthy. What are we doing?
Not healthy.
What are we doing?
Wow. And communication is so key. But I noticed that in relationships, some people always want to be right. But it's like, do you want to be in a relationship or do you always want to be right? It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, Dr. Phil says that all the time. Something like that. Like, do you want to be right or do you want to fix this relationship? It's not about being right 100% of the time. It's really just about finding the solution. And if anything you bring up to your dude, you're in fear of him leaving or whatever, that's not healthy. You should be able to bring up anything. This is supposed to be your best friend. Think about how you talk to your guy friends. I'm just able to ask them questions without like, oh my God, he's not gonna be my friend no more. Like, we're just able to ask questions.
Right, without somebody saying you're being too much.
Yep.
You know, but then that's crazy that we should be our authentic self around someone that we are quote unquote in love with.
Yeah. And that's one of the rules I put. Because I saw the difference of the Reka with her guy friends and the Reka in a relationship trying to keep a man. I saw a difference in me, and I was like, ugh, I did not like her. I was like, I don't like you. I don't like me, don't like you. Me, don't like you. I was like, man, she's so 12.
Oh, yeah.
So, I had to grow up and be like, listen, if you flaws and all, right? That's what Beyonce says. Like, I will no longer morph into be somebody different so this guy can like me. You know, I don't want that anymore.
And that is like a liberating feeling.
For free.
And that's what we came here to do, is be free.
Yeah.
And if I can't be free with you, then this ain't going nowhere.
What's the point? What are we dating for then? Like, why do you want that relationship where you are somebody else? What is that?
And that's when we really get lost and get distracted and just end up being desperate in love. Just desperate trying to keep them.
Yep, and morphing and changing. And honestly, that makes you unhappy. I mean, I have so many clients who are like, I'm so confused. I don't even know who I am. I was trying to be this person. And then something just broke in me. Like, you get so confused about who you even are because you're so busy morphing into somebody else for all of these different dudes. For all of these different, so now you got all these other different personalities. Like, no, just be you. And also, it is the fear of, I'm going to be alone forever, or I don't want to die alone. First of all, we all die alone. The Notebook lied to us, okay? But again, those are exceptions to the rule. The rule is my dad or my mom is gonna die before each other. So while you're in the waiting process, what about your 401k? What if you do turn 65 and you don't have anybody, in air quotes? Are you gonna be able to financially help yourself out? There's so many other things we need to be focused on outside of having a man. So because you could be broke with a dude, or you can focus on building yourself up. I was always broke when I was with dudes because I was paying for their life. Like, well, I'm the ride or die, so I guess I'm paying for his life.
We be out here being sugar mamas.
And now that I focus on myself, especially since I call him my $10,000 boyfriend, since my abusive ex and my $10,000 boyfriend, do you know that? So I was, while I was building Single You, it was my side hustle, and I was able to finally step down from doing the morning show. So I have been doing mornings and radio and waking up at 4:30 for 7 years. And it was a struggle, especially the last year. And then especially when they murdered George Floyd on national TV, that my anxiety, I never had anxiety. I'm not somebody who has anxiety. It's not a medical condition for me or anything. But when I tell you my body was doing things that I did not recognize, I couldn't sleep, having panic attacks, like having to like breathe, right? But because I have focused on myself for so long and built my savings up and was building this business on the side, I was finally able to be like, you know what? I can't do this no more. I'll go part-time. Can I do part-time? Yeah. And so now I'm a part-time radio personality, still building up Single You. But because I was able to take care of myself and I have a year of savings chilling, that I'm able to do this because I wasn't focused on no dude.
Stay ready. You don't got to get ready.
Exactly. And yes, it's scary. And yes, I'm like, look, Ayanna Van Zant, who I love, also one of Oprah's girls, she says, if you ain't doing something and you ain't got a little pee dribbling down, you ain't doing something big enough. You need to take it higher. And I'm like, that's where I am, because man, I'm scared. but
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it afraid, and I'm gonna trust God. I'm gonna trust God. And I was able to trust even better because I have a savings account.
Wow. Yes.
Focus on me because I ain't got no dude. So
Oh my, literally, you save so much money choosing you.
so much money. It's not like I didn't have a career. I had a good paycheck from that job and was broke every time I was dating a dude. Just broke.
And that is a part of faith when we are stepping into the unknown and
Yeah.
really just surrendering and giving it up to God like that. And we're going to be rewarded in the end.
Yeah. Yeah. When you, Stephen Furtick says it like this: obedience is your job, outcome is God.
Ooh,
God,
that's powerful.
girl, God says, I know the plans that I have for you, and it's not to harm you. So if I truly believe that God gave you this message of I will use this story, and your pain, your embarrassment, your shame will be used to heal other women, then I had to make that leap. I had to make that leap. I had to. For me, and girl, anxiety gone. I've been sleeping like a baby.
Now look, heal people. And you healing so many women, just being so transparent. Your spirit is so uplifting. I laughed this whole entire hour.
Yep. I am a little comedian on the side, you know. Ain't done stand up, but one day maybe. I love, like, comedy is my thing, and that's my personality. And they would tell me this was too much, Tara. This, me. And I used to be, just one more story. And so my abusive ex would tell me that. And I literally started, like, I felt myself shrinking. Like, this is me, right? I'm like, yeah, so Tara, we about to do that. And I would, like, dumb it down because I was like, I can't be this bubbly because he don't like me.
Oh, and that's what we do. You ain't alone in this. We want to keep them so bad.
Oh, bad. Why? That is the journey you have to go on. Why? Why this guy? Why? Why does it have to be this guy?
And I'm just settling right here. Can you tell us where we can connect with you, where we can get involved with Single You? Please tell us.
Absolutely. So, of course, I'm a millennial, so I'm all over Instagram. Instagram is literally the place to get a hold of me. So Instagram, I'm just me, Reka, and that's Reka. And then also I do have a website, and it's single-u.com. And if you want to join Single You, it's single-u.com/join. And a funny story with Single You, the website, when I first was going for my website, first of all, I was going to call it Singleness University because it really is school. It really is a curriculum. But then I was like, that's too long. And then I just wanted singleu.com. But girl, let me tell you, somebody bought that years ago or whatever. It's $20,000 right now. That's how much they want for it. And I was like, well, I guess I'm putting a dash in it.
God got plans.
Listen, you'll find it, single-u.com. I guarantee you'll find it, yes. And so if you have any questions, obviously hit me up on Instagram. But if you join Single You today, you can start the video today, the curriculum today. And then in the Single You portal is what I call it. You'll see the schedule of where we meet on lives and do our workshops. But it really is a journey. And you will start at the beginning. And it starts with figuring out who you are. And then you go through the program, and you can't skip around. You got to start at because each conversation builds on each other. And so I set it up to where you can't skip around.
Wow, right.
Yep. So if you are ready to get unstuck, if you are ready to discover your worth and stop tying your identity to men, stop morphing into who he wants you to be, if you are ready to stop being that people pleaser and discover your worth, I'm the coach for that. I am the coach for that.
Come on, plug. Come on, plug. No, that is incredible. The legacy that you are building and everything that you are doing for the community. It's amazing, Reka. Before you go, can you please tell us how we can step into our worth and enjoy this singleness in our journey?
Yeah. One of the things, like I said, we start from the beginning is who are you? And I really start with the questions that I ask myself, right? Like I teach in a way in the course that I went on basically. And so I ask myself, who does God say I am? Who do I say I am? And how do I want to show up in this world? And I even go through one of the videos writing out a mission statement. Like, who are you? What do you stand for? Because they say, You know, if you don't stand for something, you fall for everything. And that is so true. How do you want to date from now on moving forward? And then don't waver for any man, because it's not worth it. So you got to start asking yourself those questions. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of the questions that you ask it. So
and those so simple questions too. We just look over.
I know we spend time with ourselves because we're always with us. And so we think, I know myself the best. But do you though? Do you talk to yourself? Do you? I don't think you do. I think a lot of us are just outward thinkers. We're just always out here, always out here. We don't ever spend time with ourselves because some of us don't like to be alone. And if you don't, why? Start with why. Why don't I like to be alone? Where does this come from? Where does this come from? So yeah, that is how you start in discovering your worth. You got to start asking yourself questions, and you're not gonna like it. Like I said, when I figured out how I was morphing and changing for a dude, and I was a different Reka with a boyfriend than I was with my male friends, I was like, ugh, why? You gotta go through that though, and you gotta love the parts of yourself you don't like about you. There's still parts of myself. There is no perfection, but the striving for is sexy. But you ain't gonna be perfect, and that's okay. But you can be better than you were yesterday.
Wow, yes, and enjoying that process of becoming the better version of you. This process of loving ourselves is never ending.
Never ending. But once you figure out the questions, and so now it's like when I do something, I always ask, wait, am I doing this because I want to, or is it because they want me to? And and then I make my decision. And sometimes you mess up, and that's okay. But at least start giving yourself the tools to figure out who you are. I would be lying to you if I said one day you're going to wake up and never want to be with a guy again. I would be lying to you. I just want to give you a foundation so then you can execute accordingly.
Yeah, man.
Stop falling for everything. So, but yeah, it's a journey.
You can't be falling for the okie doke.
No more. Why? That's called insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. It's insanity.
You said this. You said it's a hamster wheel dating that we tend to go in.
Yeah, and then one gets off, the other get on, and then we just one gets off. You date Tom, Dick, and Harry, and they all the same dude because you're doing the same thing. If you want better, you got to make the hard choices. I think there was some TED talk I was listening to, and it was like, easy choices, you have a painful life. Hard choices, you have a great life.
Ooh.
It's so easy to date everybody who wants to date you. It's so easy to sleep with everybody who wants to date you. It's so easy to say yes to everybody. It sucks. Yes, it's painful. It's hard to say no to people. It's hard to stick to your boundaries. But do you want that painful life, or do you want the life you actually want? You gotta make that decision, and nobody can make it but you.
Right.
You
deserve better. You deserve better.
Have the audacity to believe that you can have a better life than the one that you have now, that you can have a better relationship than the one that you have now.
Come on, audacity.
Right. I'm using the big words today.
I deserve this, honestly. The audacity to want better. That is beautiful.
Yeah. I had a girl, she told me that she was with her dude, and she does have kids with him. So I get it. Even when you throw kids in the mix, it's harder. But she was like, I don't trust him. He cheats and cheats and cheats. And I struggle with my worthiness. I struggle with who I am and my happiness, but I can't leave him. I said, that's a lie. You don't want to. You're not ready. You're afraid. You're whatever. There's so many reasons, but that is a lie. That's a story you're telling yourself that you can't leave him. It's because you're afraid of taking care of yourself. You're afraid. You're that hard decision to leave. You want to raise kids in a 2-parent household, but you're showing them this dysfunctional ass relationship. What is that about?
Right.
You want them to be in this? So it's an easy decision to stay, which is very painful, right? The hard decision is to leave now, work it out, and then you will actually have the life that you want. But I know some women are like, because my cousin went through it, like, I can't believe that I'm here. I never planned this. I understand that. But sometimes life and the choices we make throw us a curveball. And then we gotta go, what can I learn from this? And then pivot.
Yes. Instead of saying, why is this happening to me? Ask, what can I learn from this?
What can I learn from this? And how do I pivot to get out of this situation? Because you saying that I can't leave him is a lie. That is a lie.
Yeah. And that's going to keep you stuck.
And then you're going to be doing the hamster wheel. Just like, oh, my life, I can't believe I'm here.
Right. Now you 10 years in this insanity that you have created for yourself. Yeah. And that's when we know that we can really create our own destiny like that.
I truly believe that. I truly believe you can create the life that you want. The Bible says God gives us the desires of our heart. And we may start out, you know, thinking, oh, this is the life I want. And then as you go the course, it pivots and changes and God adds extra things, but you will still get the life you actually want. You gotta start. Wow. You gotta start and exit plan from that horrible, dysfunctional relationship. Bye.
Yes, and doing the self-work, because like we've been saying, we have not been taught how to do the work, the internal work. We be out here chasing everything externally, but haven't even healed ourselves.
Yeah. And that's another reason why I created Single You, because I knew, you know, in that Drake song, know yourself, know your worth. We hear these things, we hear Oprah say it, but I think a lot of people don't know where to start. So if you want that starting point, I got you.
Yes, go to Single You. Come on. Yes. Oh, Reka, this was amazing. You're truly a blessing. Truly, this conversation just felt at home. I appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem. Friends, we got to like stay connected and all that. Like, I love your spirit as well. So even listening to your podcast, I was like, I like this girl. She's spicy. I love it.
I relate so wholeheartedly to everything that you teach. And I just thank you so much for being of service and giving back and just telling your story. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for the platform.
Thank you, listeners, for tuning in, tapping into another Take the Lead podcast. And we're going to see you at the top.